Hello there, we are back with really the third part of this section. When we left off, we just found out what the slope was. So here's what you need to know of what we've talked about. In order to make a graph or write an equation, you have to know two things. You have to know the slope of the line, and you have to know at least one point on the line. What we know is this point here, the y-intercept. And if we don't know it, then you have to figure it out. And we have enough information to do that at this point. So when we left off, we just figured out that the slope of this line was 1/2. Okay, here's what else we know. We know that any linear equation can be written in the form y equals mx plus b. And we also know, that the slope of my line is 1/2. Here's what else we know. We also know that these points are on my line from here. Okay, we know that the points 3, -2 is somewhere on the line. And we also know that the point 1, -3 is on the line. So this gets a little bit tricky here. So you're probably going to have to rewatch this part of the video a couple times because it does get a little, I see students struggle right here at this point as we look at number 16. What you have to do now is you have to figure out what the y-intercept is. Because in order to write the equation, you have to know what m is and you have to know what b is. The graph of the line represents all of the solutions of y and x that are true when we know the slope and the intercept here. So, since we know this, what we're going to do now in number 16 is right here. We're going to substitute the slope for m, and right here, the coordinates of one of the points for x and y, and then solve for b. Sounds confusing. Here's what you're doing. You have to find out what b is. You have to find that point in order to write this equation. And you're going to have to be able to do this. So I know that y, okay, is equal to mx plus b. So I'm going to do number 16 in this area right here. Here's what I know. I'm going to pick one of the points on the line because that's what it said to do right here. And I'm also going to use the slope for this line. So I'm going to pick the point 1, 3. Point 1, -3. And I'm going to use the slope 1/2. And I'm going to substitute, that's the slope right there. Now, in this point, the y value is -3 and the x value is 1. So I'm going to substitute x for x and y for y because I know that this combination 1, -3 is a solution on this line. Now the truth is you could also use the 0.3, -2. You would just have to use those values. You'll get the same answer for b regardless of which point you choose. Okay, so watch. If y is -3, that means this y is -3. That's equal to the slope is 1/2 times x, which is 1, plus b. Now we're going to do this. We're going to solve for b. Right, this is going to happen right here. Now you have to do some math here. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. So you have 1/2 plus b, and on this side of the equation you have -3. Now we're going to keep solving. Solve it for b. Now you're going to subtract 1/2. -3 minus 1/2. Okay, and we're going to work that out. Now this side eliminates that. You have b is equal to, now you have to, I'll do it over here, 3 minus 1/2, I'm sorry, -3 minus 1/2. Think of addition, boom, boom. -3 plus -1/2, that's actually pretty easy to do. It's -3.5. So b is equal to -3 and 1/2. You found b, you found the y-intercept. All right, look at what 17 says. It says, write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form, substitute m and the y-intercept for b. All right, so here's the final answer. Y is equal to, my slope is 1/2 times x plus -3.5. So that's the equation. Y equals 1/2 x plus -3.5. But you had to be able to find that b when you're given the slope and a couple of points that are on the line. Neither one of these points are the y-intercept, so you have to find it because in y equals mx plus b, the b is always the y-intercept. Okay, and that's how you do that problem. Let's go on down and see if we can graph this linear equation based on the clues and the information that they've given us here. So let's try this. The ordered pair for the y-intercept 4 is the point. Okay, so if this is the y-intercept, now right here it says, what is the graph of this? All right, if they tell me that, look, y is isolated on one side. So this is in the form y equals mx plus b. That's the first thing you have to check, that it is in that form. So since that's the case, I know that b is the y-intercept. And the y-intercept would be the point 0, 4 in this case, because if it means it crosses the y-axis there, and that's the point 0, 4. Explain how you use the slope to find another point on the line. Well, here's what we know. We know that the slope is -3. Now you might think of that as -3 over 1. And we also know that slope is the rise divided by the run. Okay, so it says use the slope to find another point on the line. And you know what? I'm just going to do that on the graph over here. So we know this point is on the line, 0, 4. We know that that's the y-intercept. So go ahead and plot that point. That's not a very good point there. I'm going to clean mine up a little bit. Hopefully you can make a nicer one than that. All right, I know that that point is on my line. I also know that the rise is -3, so I'm going to go down 3, right 1. So from this point, I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, and then over 1. That is another point on the line. I can do it again. 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. Now take a straight edge, and please use a straight edge, as I will eventually take off points on a graphing quiz if you do not use a straight edge. That's really valuable for us that you do that. Okay, so this line represents all the solutions to the graph y equals -3x plus 4. That means if you'd picked any point that sits on this line and you substituted in for these values of x and y, you would have a solution of that graph. Okay, so I think this is enough information for us for now. We'll get into the rest of these problems, the application problems later, but that's a lot. You have to be able to put things in y equals mx plus b. You have to be able to create graphs if I give you an equation in y equals mx plus b. So there's a lot of material in this right here. So bring your questions to class, and we will continue a really important lesson for us.